Hello, welcome to another video from 3.5 Archive. Today, for our 35th D&D 3.5 Prestige class review, we're going to be looking at the Reaping Mauler Prestige class from the Complete Warrior Sourcebook. Now, the Reaping Mauler is a Prestige class focused on grappling, and while that's the bane of many characters and indeed many players' existence, between the annoyance of being unable to escape a large creature's grasp with its enormous size-based modifiers to grapple, and the complex and often annoying grappling rules, the Reaping Mauler takes that and uses it to their advantage. The Reaping Mauler is a 5-level prestige class, and its description says that usually entrants to the prestige class are fighters, but sometimes barbarians and rangers join. Monks and paladins, it's often too chaotic of a fighting style for their taste. Druids sometimes become Reaping Maulers, and the book says that it's because of their ability to tame animals by hand, and the Reaping Mauler prestige class lets them grapple better and thus makes them better able to wrangle potential animal companions. But that would not be my first thought upon looking at this prestige class, one that's focused on grappling and gives you some very deadly grappling-based abilities. The druid is able to shapeshift into large animals, and as a result, we could make devastating effect of many of these prestige class features, as we'll see as we go through it. So, to become a Reaping Mauler, a character is going to need a base attack bonus of +5, 5 ranks in Escape Artist, and 5 ranks in Tumble, the Clever Wrestling and Improved Unarmed Strike feats, and must have defeated at least 3 creatures one size category larger with his bare hands. So this last feature might be a little bit difficult, especially if you are coming into this as a druid, and the definition of bare hands might be a little bit strained if you're thinking of being in your wild shape. But if you do kill an ogre, for example, or 3 ogres while shapeshifted into a wolf, for example, then for some dungeon masters that might be enough to count. But for fighters and for fighter rogues and for barbarians, the biggest obstacle with this prestige class is going to be the skill requirements. They will have no trouble getting in with the base attack bonus requirement, but requiring 5 ranks in 2 skills that are not on the class skill list for fighter or barbarian means that you're going to have to multi-class with rogue, which probably isn't what you're going to want. You're going to want to be going into prestige classes that just improve your base attack bonus and thus improve your grapple modifier. Playing a Goliath might also be a good idea for this prestige class if you want to get into it, as their powerful build racial ability makes them count as large for the purposes of grapple without actually being large, so it will give you that extra bonus for size to grapple. And first level in this prestige class is going to give you improved grapple as a bonus feat. You don't need to take it. And so that means that there's a little bit of a dilemma for monks that want to get into this prestige class, because they're not going to want to take improved grapple as one of their bonus feats. So it's going to be hard to get into this prestige class before 7th level. You would hope to generally be able to get into prestige class after 5th level, take your 6th level in it, but here the example character has 5 levels in rogue and 2 levels in fighter. You could achieve this with 5 levels in fighter and just 1 level in rogue, depending on how you mix things up. But even so, you're going to be taking your first level in this prestige class as your 7th character level, which is a little bit suboptimal, and you are going to be a little bit behind on your base attack bonus. But that's okay. Clever Wrestling is going to give you a bonus to escape a grapple or pin of a larger creature, and the bonus scales the larger the creature is, roughly equivalent to half of its size bonus to grappling. That's nice, but this prestige class is focused on controlling the grapple and potentially killing your opponent with it, as we'll see. So you're going to get a D10 hit die. You are fortunately going to get a full base attack bonus, and you're going to get good fortitude and reflex saves. So you are getting decent numbers out of this class. You'll only get 2 plus intelligence modifier skill points per level, but your skill list is pretty nice and does include Escape Artist and Tumble, which is going to be important. At level 1, you're going to gain improved grapple as a bonus feat, as well as mobility. Improved grapple is going to give you that +4 and allow you to initiate grapples without provoking opportunity attacks. It's only going to apply while wearing light armor or no armor, but that's fine. You're also going to get the mobility feat, which is going to be nice for getting into position, but it's really not that important of a feat for a grapple build. You could have taken this feat already if you really wanted it, and it would have been nicer to have some other feature here, but that's fine. 2 bonus feats isn't a terrible start for Prestige class. At second level, while in light armor, again, or no armor, you're going to gain a +1 bonus on all grapple checks and opposed dexterity or strength checks. So this is going to improve your grappling ability. Unfortunately, it's only going to make up for the 1 level of a non-full base attack bonus Prestige class, or rather base class, that you had to take to get into this Prestige class. The bonus is going to increase to +2 at 4th level, but that's not a whole lot of benefit overall. Even if you could get into this just as fighter, a measly +2 bonus to grapple checks could be achieved in a lot of other ways. Fortunately, there are better features on the way. At 3rd level, while grappled or pinned, a Reaping Mauler wearing light armor or no armor can attempt either a grapple or escape artist check to free himself as normal. But if you fail the check, you can immediately attempt another one as a free action. So you get 2 attempts to break out of a grapple. Now, there are a lot of monsters with improved grab and very, very impressive grapple bonuses. So being able to have 2 shots at breaking out of a grapple is a very good thing. That said, by itself, it's a situational effect, and it's one that you're going to be using reactively and defensively. You're not going to be putting yourself in that situation too often. Although if you are going to be grappling a lot of creatures, there's a fair chance that the tides of fortune might reverse on you at some point, and you'll end up grappled more often than most characters otherwise would. Even so, this isn't the best feature. But at 3rd level, you also get Sleeper Lock. If you pin an opponent while grappling and maintain the pin for 1 full round, the opponent must make a Fortitude save of DC 10 plus your Reaping Mauler class level plus your Wisdom modifier at the end of the round, or fall unconscious for 1d3 rounds. And a creature with no discernible anatomy is going to be immune to this effect, which sort of makes sense because it's going to be hard to smother a gibbering mouther, for example. Now, this can be a fight-ending effect. If you're grappling a creature, odds are the fight is already pretty much over for them. But if they're capable of being knocked unconscious, which, to be fair, is not a huge percentage of the monsters out there, but it is a decent chunk, and if you are able to knock them unconscious for D3 rounds, then, well, it's over for them. You can just coup de grace them and kill them. At 5th level, you gain Devastating Grapple. If you maintain a pin for 3 consecutive rounds, your opponent must make a Fortitude save of DC 10 plus your class level plus your Wisdom modifier at the end of the 3rd round or die. And again, the creature needs to have discernible anatomy to be vulnerable to this effect. Maintaining a grapple for 3 consecutive rounds is going to be pretty difficult, even with the bonuses that you get from this class. Even if you are a Goliath and even if you have improved grapple, it's still going to be pretty difficult to maintain that grapple and not lose it when your opponent gets 1 lucky roll. A lot of the creatures that are going to be small enough for this to work on effectively are going to be creatures that you could simply kill anyway. That said, this sort of death effect of simply grappling creature and maybe strangling it to death or whatever you're doing is pretty cool, and being able to pull this off in combat would be very satisfying. Is this going to be a very powerful prestige class? No. Its biggest weakness is the lack of bonus that it gives you for grappling. It only gives you a +2 overall, while making you get behind on your base attack bonus by taking levels in a somewhat irrelevant class in order to get those skill ranks that it requires. If it didn't require 5 ranks in Escape Artist and Tumble and required 4 ranks instead, and maybe drop the Clever Wrestling and even the Improved Unarmed Strike, which isn't really going to be necessary if you get the improved grapple feat, except maybe as the touch attack to start a grapple, or gave you some sort of improved grab feature, or really anything else to help you with grappling, which is a very difficult thing to do in 3.5. It would have been a lot better prestige class. As is, it requires wisdom for the saving throw for some save or die effects. So on top of having a great strength and probably a great constitution if you're going to want to survive getting up close and personal with some of these monsters, you're going to need a great wisdom score. Now for monks this is going to be okay, and again for druids this isn't going to be any sort of problem. But generally speaking, this sort of build isn't going to be the best. If you're fighting a lot of humanoids in your campaign, or I'd say a lot of undead because they don't have great grapple due to their poor base attack bonus, but they're going to be immune to being unconscious or death effects, so there's not going to be much point to grappling them. Perhaps Fae or something like that, any sort of creature that'd be vulnerable to grappling. Then I could see this prestige class really coming into its own sometimes, although oftentimes fights are going to be over by the time you spent 3 or 4 rounds grappling a creature to kill it. For druids, being able to wild shape, assuming that these abilities would work while you're wild shaped, and you can grapple while being wild shaped, so there's no reason to think that it wouldn't work. Then being able to grapple a creature, hold it in place for 3 rounds, and then just straight up kill it is going to be really useful. That said, a druid in wild shape is going to be able to deal out so much punishment that they probably won't need to be grappling something in order to kill it. They can probably just kill it with their natural attacks. So practically speaking, this prestige class really doesn't have much of a place or a particular function. I would give it 5 stars for concept, but really only 1.5 stars for execution. And really it's because the bonus to grapple that it gives is so small. If it gave +2 and then +4 on top of improved grapple, then you might have a chance. Then you might be able to go more toe-to-toe with large creatures, who, remember, are going to have very high strength scores that you can't match as a player character. And they're going to have size-based bonuses that, even with clever wrestling, which again only applies to escaping a grapple, not maintaining one or turning it to your advantage, you just won't be able to compete with the larger monsters that you're going to often be fighting at higher levels. That, combined with the fact that a lot of monsters are just going to be straight up immune to the devastating grapple and sleeper lock features, and you really don't have a formula for a very powerful character. Still, in the right campaign, this could be fun, and it could also be an enjoyable NPC opponent. You could have a group of several of these, making for a very frustrating encounter for some mid-level player characters. That said, as a dungeon master, I don't really like surprise death effects like that, so this might not be something very fun for your players either to go up against. Maybe the sleeper lock, but certainly not the devastating grapple. That might be a very unpleasant surprise. So overall, while I wouldn't recommend this prestige class in general, it is definitely very fun, and perhaps combining it with some other classes, some other feats, and really building toward it, you could pull off the sleeper lock and devastating grapple. But just keep in mind that they're going to only be useful in very narrow situations. You're going to have to be up against the right kind of opponents for it to work, and the amount of investment you have to put in is probably going to make it not worth it for most characters. So that's going to be about it for this D&D 3.5 Prestige Class review. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and so on. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time here on 3.5 Archive.